So today we're looking at Mortarless stone veneer. We're going to be examining it along with other stone veneer products, so you can see the difference between the different stone veneers. We're going to look at the installation and applications of stone veneer. So the objectives today are to look at the various types and the makeup of stone veneer, installation processes for stone veneer, and then to introduce the mortarless category and installation guidelines associated with mortarless stone veneer. Now this graph's got a couple years on it, and we wish we had those housing starts, but the fact of the matter is that manufactured stone veneer, or MSV, continues to grow in use in the construction industry. We're seeing MSV to exceed the pace of starts and see more usage. And not only in new construction, but in renovations as well. We're seeing a huge influx of manufactured stone. In fact, it's listed as #1 in Remodeling's 2020 cost versus value report. And so the minimum, it was a 97% return on your investment, whether it's interior stone or exterior. In some areas of North America, it was double that. So you're actually getting paid back for putting up MSV. The first one we're going to look at, though, is natural stone veneer, which is exactly what it says. It's natural stone. It's generally going to be a quarried product, though in the case of like field stones, river rock, stream stones, those are going to actually be collected and picked up for construction. With natural stone, you're capable of achieving very unique patterns and designs, utilizing different shapes, colors, grouting techniques. Generally speaking, it's going to be a mason, skilled labor that's installing this product, especially when we're talking about a full bed stone product. It's going to have to be someone trained to do that. Now, in the thin natural stone, it's a little more flexible, but still you're going to have some layer of skill to install it. Masons have to shape stones to fit into desired areas. There's a lot of cutting and chiseling taking place. One factor is that it can be a high waste product, especially when you get into the full bed masonry. When it lands at a job site, you can figure about 20% of the stone is not going to be used through chipping, chiseling, and just pieces that are unusable. Now in the thin veneer, it's much better than that, but there's always going to be some waste. With natural stone, it's difficult to repeat in a large geographic footprint, i.e. like national franchises, especially in the full bed category. Stones can vary from quarry to quarry, so just because you're harvesting a granite in Ontario doesn't mean you can use the same granite in BC, because they're going to be worlds apart. In fact, you can have a quarry that's mere miles away from another quarry harvesting the same type of stone that will look completely different because the veins and coloring will be different. The high cost of shipping also makes availability a problem, again, especially in the full bed category, but even in the thin veneer as well. So this is typically your highest price option when it comes to stone veneer because of the level of skill required to install it and also the cost of the freight. So some of the pros would be it's natural stone. It's going to be beautiful. Every stone is going to be uniquely different. It does provide a protective layer to the exterior of the building. You're going to get consistent coloring. So if you chip it, break it, crack it, you're going to have that same color going through the stone. And if something should happen and you have to tear down a wall of stone, you're going to be able to clean that up and reuse it. Now, some of the cons for a natural stone veneer would be high waste on the job. It does require some skill level to install it. There's going to be multiple layers of substrate, each with potential problems. It can be a slow installation time, especially in the full bed category. It's going to be a very slow process. Regional availability, there might be very little that's regionally available. You might be in a part of the world where there's no quarries around, so there might not be actually any natural stone available to pull from. And of course, job site cleanup can be an issue too. Now we'll get into the manufactured stone category. These are designed stones. It allows for consistent sizing because it is a manufactured product. It accelerates the installation time. It's available in a huge variety of colors and textures that are easily repeated. They can create looks that are not available in natural stone. If you don't live beside a river, then a river rock is not going to be very accessible. But in a manufactured stone, it's readily available. Here are two examples shown in the pictures. These are cultured stones made by Boral Building Products. The product has been available for nearly 60 years, and it really replicates the best of natural stone. Now, how is manufactured stone produced? Well, it's critical for us to convey the look and the beauty of natural stone. That's what it's all about. So the process of creating our stone molds is just as important as the process of making the stone itself. In the mold production process, a manufacturer will cut and size natural stones to meet the specs for that MSV that they're trying to achieve. Then the natural stones will be laid out on a table, and this is called a master. From there, a number of layers of latex will be applied over the natural stones and to capture the essence of the stone, all the little details that are found on that natural stone. Now, once many layers have been applied, it's cured. That mold is extracted and removed from the natural stones. And what results is a production mold with cavities from the natural stones that we can now use to make a manufactured stone veneer. Each mold will generate many stones, and over time, the mold, when it wears out, we can pull out that master production mold again and simply make another mold. So speaking specifically to cultured stone, the coloring would be hand painted inside that mold. We would use iron oxide pigments so we can create a solid color that'll last for a lifetime. And then our lightweight aggregate would be poured in. It would be vibrated down, which forces the color into the concrete, forces air bubbles off the face of the stone. And once it's cured and dried, then it can be packaged by hand. So manufactured stone veneer allows for huge flexibility in your design because you can do whatever you want. Mix it up however you want. If you want to mix some ledge stone with field stone, you can do it. Remember, one stone is not supporting the stone above it. It's all supported on the wall. So you have huge flexibility on what you want to do. Do you want a big wide joint? Do it. Do you want a narrow joint? No joint? Maybe a big old smear joint like a cottage look? You can do anything you want. Interior or exterior applications. Because it's a lightweight product, it can be used anywhere. Now, typically, a manufactured stone veneer is going to be lower in cost than the natural alternatives. You're going to have a huge variety of colors and textures to choose from, and it's a very repeatable look. What are the pros? Well, since it's modeled after natural stones, it's going to have a great look. Lightweight, allows for diverse installation areas, consistent stone size, because again, it's a manufactured, the stone should be made to work together. Lots of colors and textures to choose from that are maybe not available to you locally, that you can still have that look. A very low waste factor, and a quality stone should also have some recycled content. The cons of a manufactured stone veneer: it does still require some skill to install. I remember when this was first introduced, a lot of the masonry yards were like, oh, you're going to put our masons out of business. But that's not reality. Reality is the majority of manufactured stone veneer is still put in by professional installers. It does require multiple layers of substrate. It can be a slower installation time. It's going to be faster than natural stone, but still a slower time. Stone consistency and strength will vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. There are literally hundreds of manufacturers of stone veneer out there. The vast majority of them have no testing or code approvals whatsoever. So you want to make sure as a specifier or a user of stone that you're using one that has the consistency and strength and meets the codes of your local area. There is cement in the material, so you could get some efflorescence, but that's no different than any other masonry product. And water would have to be on the site to install the stone because you're using mortar. Now, some of the basic installations of both natural stone and MSV. It can be an intimidating process because there's a lot of steps required to put it on the wall. Seasonality comes into play because there is mortar involved. So if it's too cold out and the mortar freezes, you're not going to get a bond. It might somewhat bond, but eventually down the road, that stone's going to fall off the wall. If it's too hot outside, then it'll dry up all the moisture in that mortar way too fast before it can get a permanent bond to the wall. And of course, if it's raining outside, you're not going to be mixing mortar. So all these factors come into play. Natural stone, a full bed product is of course going to need structural support. But if it's a thin veneer, but they are not cutting it according to code and keeping it under 15 pounds a square foot, then you're going to need additional support to hold that stone up on the wall. So here's the basic assembly for putting up both natural and manufactured stone. You're going to have sheathing. Any kind of sheathing is fine. In fact, we often put up projects that have no sheathing, where we're just going over Z-girts. You want 2 layers of weather-resistant barrier, galvanized metal lath, which should be a minimum of 2.5 pounds in strength, mortar, scratch coat, and then the manufactured stone itself. Metal lath is a part of the installation process. Now, over the years, they've developed fiberglass mesh that works as well. Also, cement board can now be used on exteriors. But for the most part, most of the product is going up on a metal lath. The metal lath should be installed horizontally, not vertically. And it should be overlapped in the field. So a minimum inch overlap, vertical and horizontal. It should be wrapped around inside and outside corners so that if there's any movement of the building, that it all moves together and you don't get any cracking. Now, anyone that's worked with metal lath knows what an animal it is. If you've worked with it long enough, you've got the scars to prove it. So it's not a lot of fun. Now, when installing the stone, special consideration has to be take place to make sure there's no voids, no pockets behind the stone. This is where you run into problems. I'll often have people that are in high winter areas, we'll say, and their fear is, well, the stone will pop off, you know, because of our freeze thaw and all the moisture we get. It will not pop off. You'll find manufactured stone in places like Whistler and Blue Mountain and Mount Tremblant without any problems. Water has to puddle to create a problem. So if there's a void behind the stone where water can collect and then freeze, then you're going to have an issue. It can force the stone off the wall, it can crack the stone, etc. But if the stone is completely embedded into a wet bed of mortar, so that there's no voids behind it, then you're never going to have an issue. Now, I wouldn't recommend as much mortar as we see in the picture here. He got kind of sloppy with it. He's going to have to clean it up. But the point is, there can be no room for water to collect. If it can't collect, it can't cause a problem. Also, when installing this product, if you bump into the stone next to it, that can cause an issue too, because now you've loosened that stone. You might not even notice it, but you probably put a layer of air behind that stone now, and that's where water can collect. So if you bump another stone, take that stone off and start over with it. If you're going up over brick or block, as long as the brick or block are clean and unpainted, you can mortar directly to it. If there are weepers in the wall already, then make sure those weepers are allowed to stay open so that your wall can breathe. The exception to this would be if you're going over a poured wall or a tilt-up wall. First of all, they're very smooth, so it's hard to get a bond, but almost certainly they're going to have form release oil on them. And that oil's on there forever. So either you have to acid etch it or you have to sandblast it to get it off. So a much better solution is simply shoot lath right onto the wall and apply your stone and mortar. So this stone failure that we see here, there could be so many issues with it, and there really are. Maybe it was too hot and they didn't get a bond with the stone. Maybe it was too cold and the mortar froze and they didn't get a bond with the stone. Maybe the mortar preparation was wrong. Too much sand, not enough sand, too much water, not enough water. So there's so many causes that could cause this. But we also look at the picture, you see the stone being held. You see part of that stone actually stuck to the wall. So maybe the stone is at fault as well, because the back of the stone stuck, the rest of the stone did not. And the way the installer installed it with just blobs of mortar behind the stone, you see all those pockets that were created for water to get into. So really, this is kind of a disaster in every way. And you know, when I was going over this last night, I thought, you know, I almost feel like putting in a disclaimer right about here. And so I will. Our conversation today is about mortarless stone, but to get to that conversation, we felt it's important to discuss other stone veneer options, and that's what we're doing. And that's so that you can decide as an installer, as a specifier, which one works for your project. Is it natural stone? Is it manufactured stone? Is it a mortarless system? So we have the pros and cons, honestly, based on all the products that are out there. But no matter what you pick, choose a quality, tested, and premium product that will perform as you expect it to. Have it installed by someone who knows what they're doing. Now this looks like, honestly, a pretty ugly stone. It's probably a cheap stone, probably not manufactured very well. It looks like it might be in a poor mix, have a chalky back on it, maybe some of the color migrated to the back and loosened the bond. If it had been a quality product installed by a quality proven installer, it'd be up there for a lifetime. Choices based on price or locality may lead to disappointment. So if you take nothing else away from this webinar, which hopefully you'll take a few things, but please remember, whether it's MSV, natural, or a mortarless stone veneer, choose a quality product and an installer who follows the guidelines, takes pride in their work. And this will eliminate a lot of the cons that we've mentioned and give you a worry-free installation of stone. So that's the end of my rant. But after 25 years of seeing jobs like this, I had to say something. So as mentioned, this is the typical installation, but now we're finding in a lot of localities the requirement for a rain screen system. So a rain screen simply allows enough air behind the product, so if any moisture does get back there, it has a way of drying up and getting out. So in a lot of municipalities, it's a code requirement now that there be a minimum of 10 millimeters or 3/8 of an inch of rain screen behind the lath to allow that to happen. In some areas, like here in Ontario, it's actually the Ontario Architects Association who insists that there be a rain screen behind everything that's built. And that's for insurance purposes. So they pretty much told their architects, if you don't use a rain screen and anything goes sideways, you're on your own, because we warned you, use a rain screen. So it is just smart building practice, really. If somebody doesn't do the caulking right, the flashing right, the gutters are wrong, whatever, and it allows water to get it back in behind there, now it has a way of drying itself out. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten the phone call of, I got water coming in around my windows. There's something wrong with your stone. I don't protect against water. I'm a stone. But somebody didn't tape off the windows right, didn't do a flashing right, didn't do the caulking right. Something happened that's causing that to happen. So with a rain screen, it gives you added protection, insurance as it were. So as a summary of our installation for both natural and manufactured stone, you want to use a quality installer. Maybe you don't want the mason who uses a bucket to pour water on the wall. And if you need help finding a quality installer, your manufacturer rep can certainly help you. You need to see projects that they've done, so you know the quality of the work, or have them build a mock-up panel on the site so you can see exactly the quality of the work that they do. They have to follow the installation instructions. No shortcuts when doing this, or you will have problems. And any manufacturer should be able to provide videos, detailed drawings, design aids, or even a technical rep that can be at the site and assist with any installation. So we've discussed natural stone veneer and manufactured stone veneer. Now we see the next evolution of stone veneer. And we've seen evolutions in construction materials throughout the years. Some of us grew up in homes that were lath and plaster walls. Well, now, good luck finding a plaster person, because they just don't exist hardly anymore. Everything is drywall. Prime siding was a big deal. It came out in the 40s, and it was much later before it even became popular. But now, you have pre-finished siding. It's ready to go. If you're going to build a home with natural stone, you, back in the day, had to know a farmer who had a pile of stones. Or you would have to go to the quarry yourself, or have your mason go to the quarry and pick out the stone. That was about the only way to get natural stone on your walls. Well, then manufactured stone came into being, and everyone could have the look of stone inside or outside of their homes without having to go dig through a pile. The next evolution is a mortarless stone veneer. So this is a stone veneer that's manufactured to be mechanically fastened to the wall. Now the sizes and shapes and everything of this veneer will vary according to the manufacturer, but the same basic principles are true. It can be installed using standard siding installation tools. There's never going to be any mortar involved, no seasonality, weather is non-factor because there's no mortar. Less job site mess, no water needed for the product. And how it's made, basically the same principle that we saw for manufactured stone veneer. You're going to have master masons select the stones, carve and shape the stones for the molds. The number of molds will determine how random a wall you're going to have. So if you're specifying or going to use a manufactured, a mortarless stone veneer, make sure that you're using one that has lots of molds, or if it has very few molds, make sure you're watching how you put it up so you don't get one panel right above another panel and they look identical. It's going to take away from that natural stone look. The product is going to be a lightweight blend of lightweight aggregates and pigments, again using iron oxide pigments to give you that look. Panels typically will fit together as a tongue and groove fashion. There'll be a flange to be used to use your fasteners to fasten the stone through. Iron oxide pigments give it that natural look, but also iron oxide pigments will last the lifetime. So basic installation, the one thing that changes is not going to be any lath or mortar involved, but also you only need a single layer of water resistant barrier because there's a rain screen built into most of the products. No masonry tools really needed. You can cut and fasten with no specialty tools. You use a diamond blade to cut it because it is concrete and metal, so you need a diamond blade. And then you can use screws or nails to fasten it to the wall. So in the one picture there, you see that you're actually using like a roofing nailer to actually shoot it onto the wall. So if you're doing that, it just goes up really fast. Other considerations, you want to make sure that this product meets the standards and the codes of your given area. Has it been tested? It should be tested for the same thing you test a brick for: freeze thaw, water drainage, wind load resistance, etc. And the one really good question is, does the manufacturer's warranty back up the claims of longevity? If they've just been manufacturing a mortarless stone for 6 months and have a 50-year warranty, is that going to fly? So make sure that they have the testing and everything to prove that they can last that kind of longevity. Also, any manufacturer should be able to provide installation guides, detailed drawings, test reports, field support, everything that's necessary to have an easy installation without any worries. For interior applications, because it is lightweight, it doesn't require any structural support for interiors. So here we have a beautiful example of a fireplace. So they simply framed up what size they wanted the fireplace to be. And how long do you suppose it took to screw on those panels under that fireplace? But look at the end result. It's really a showpiece in the home. And the fact that there's no mortar required means it's a much cleaner option, not only for new construction, but in renovations as well. So because there's no structural support necessary, if you want a fireplace that's 25 feet tall, covered in stone, you could have a fireplace 25 feet tall and covered in stone. Just pick a wall. That's the flexibility you have. Any wall you think stone would look good on, you can do it. It's a very durable stone, so for exterior applications, it's ideal. And again, because there's no mortar, there's no restrictions on the weather. Substrate prep work is very minimal at all. All you need is a single layer of weather-resistant barrier. There's going to be no mortar, no scratch wall, nothing like that. So the pros, again, because we're using natural stones for the molds, we're replicating that look of a stone veneer, but making it much easier to install. Installation speed is going to be 5 times or more faster than traditional stone. There's no mortar to clean up, no need for design preparation. It can be installed in any climate. Did you notice that the word climate or weather comes up a lot? A lot of us live in parts of the world where it seems like half of the year are lost to construction because of the climate, especially when you're talking about masonry product. So having a product that can go up without mortar, no matter what the climate, even if it's pouring rain, you can put up stone, it's a big deal. And they can be installed by lots of different kinds of professionals, not just masons. The cons, the design is limited by the modular panels. You might have to have some adhesive to put it up. And the limited variation in panels may result in a repetitive appearance if you're not careful when you're doing the installation. Compared to a full bed stone or a brick, there's no lintels needed, no brick ties, no ledge. And that ledge is kind of a big deal because if you don't have to have that 4.5 inches or 5 inches of ledge, the walls can now be moved out to the edge of the foundation. This actually will add square footage inside. So for an average 2-story home, that's an additional over 100 square feet of living space added by just getting rid of the ledge. You don't necessarily need water on the site. There's no weep holes. They can be installed by different trades. And the speed means faster occupancy. And again, weather has no effect on installation. So we keep repeating that. I had a large project in a part of the world that gets about a half a year of snow, and it was delayed. Winter was coming, and it was specified with a full bed stone. So then the question is, who's going to pay to tarp and heat this huge building so that we can put up the stone? No hands went up. So they switched it to mortarless stone veneer. Dead of winter, there's the installer out there putting up stone. So it does make a big difference. Boral Limited is a national, multinational leader in construction materials. They've been around for over 70 years, headquartered in Australia, but they're found throughout the world. Here in North America, Boral makes the #1 brand of brick. They're the largest manufacturer of clay and concrete tiles. They make cultured stone, which is the #1 brand of manufactured stone veneer, the Versetta Stone that we're going to talk about, and also they're a leader in marketing fly ash, a lot of which they use in their pioneering product of true exterior siding and trim. For over 50 years, they've been innovators in the category of manufactured stone veneer with the cultured stone brand, most technically advanced, top-rated brand in usage and brand recognition, thoroughly tested and code compliant, top-rated in quality, 50-year warranty, and they've taken all that innovation, leadership, and skill and quality and put it into a mortarless stone veneer. And that's our Versetta Stone, where it offers all the beauty and look of stone, but without the excessive cost and installation time. So why choose Versetta? Quality. Same quality standards used for cultured stone that's been around for almost 60 years is incorporated into our Versetta Stone product. Thoroughly tested for all the things that we listed, including a Class A fire rating. The nail strip has an 80-year corrosion resistance because it's galvanized and painted. It has a 50-year limited warranty that's transferable, and a minimum of 54% recycled materials found in every stone. So speaking to the system, there's a flat panel. That flat panel covers 2 square feet. It's about 8.5 pounds a square foot. That galvanized nail strip, which is painted as well, is available to put the fasteners in. And that strip is embedded right into the concrete. It has a 1,200-pound pull-out strength, so it's never going to come loose. It's never going to rust. That built-in rain screen ensures that there's proper airflow behind the product and drainage. The universal corner is made exactly the same size and everything as the flat panel. The difference being, as you can see in the picture, is that the corner has finished ends. So when you cut that panel, it's finished on both sides. When you cut it, you'll have a right and left corner. So it gives you a finished look on the wall. And it can be used for in-wall terminations, inside corners and outside corners. On the inside corners, it's used because that last couple of inches on each side of the panel is fairly smooth. Not perfectly smooth, but fairly smooth. So you get a tighter fit on the inside corners. If there is any little gaps, you're not going to go back and caulk them shut or anything like that, because any moisture gets back there has a way of escape. So here's a good look at the panels. 3 feet long, 8 inches tall. The weep holes pre-drilled into it. Nailing flange, and a tongue and groove system. And then all the available accessories are available as well to have a complete project, right down to the screws. And here's a closer look at some of the most common accessories that are used. Light box and receptacle box are installed using like a PL premium product and use lath or some metal stock around the box, nail or screw that on, and then just use blobs of PL to stick on those boxes. Everything else, it comes with a nailing flange for ease of installation. So we have a moisture management system built into the product. There is a 1/4 inch of rain screen or a little over 6 millimeters of rain screen behind the product. So as you look at the picture, you see the nailing flange with the weep holes. Those weep holes open up into that open space behind the stone. The flange gets screwed to the wall. It touches the wall, but the stone does not. It leaves that air space for airflow and for moisture to get out. The cavity provides drainage and breathability. Tongue and groove interlocking system. You see this flat panel has a tongue on the side. So it's nice when you put one stone on the wall, the next one will slide right into it and it'll hold it right in place while you get out your screws and your screw gun. The starter strip is the only accessory that you really need to have because you put that up nice and level and it gives you a nice level starting place for your stone and it holds that first tongue in place. Versetta Stone goes through a test called the water drainage efficiency test. Now in that test, what they do is they literally will spray water at the wall and then collect it down below. So they do that for about 75 minutes. They collected the water for Versetta Stone and found that 97% of the water went through the system exactly how it's planned to do. The other 3% was absorbed by the stone itself, which will be released later through evaporation, when the sun hits it, the wind hits it, whatever. And 3% is a very small amount to be absorbed, especially when you compare it to like, for instance, a clay brick, where it'll absorb close to 12 to 20% of its weight and moisture. And that's because a clay brick has to go up with mortar. So if it didn't absorb moisture, it would not get a good bond with the mortar and you'd have a problem. But because Versetta uses no mortar, we don't have to worry about that. And as a shout out to our friends there in Alberta who just got pelted with large damaging hail, Rosetta has been tested to take a 60-mile-per-hour baseball with no signs of damage. So yes, they literally got a pitching machine and they tested that. I think we do even better on soccer balls. Speed of installation. Installs with screws and nails. So it's going to go up very fast. No metal lath, again, no mortar, a simple tongue and groove system with a built-in rain screen. And again, we'll mention it, installs in any kind of weather condition. So here's the product itself. 7 colors in the ledgestone variety. This has a more rugged textured look. And that's the ledgestone on the wall. And then tight cut, also available in 7 colors. More traditional look of like a quarried limestone, more squares and rectangles. And that's it on the wall. This slide shows the comparison between the two so you can see it better, between the ledgestone and the tight cut variety. Our other product is called carved block. It comes in 2 colors. It's to mimic split face stone. Kind of introduced mostly for commercial projects, but we're finding a lot of modern housing is actually using it and even done some interiors lately with this product as well. So Versetta Stone is widely used and respected in the marketplace. The product continues to grow year after year. It expands opportunities because really anywhere you got a wall, you can put up the stone. Any kind of weather, you can put up the stone. So here's some Canadian examples of projects using Versetta Stone. So renos, new building construction, custom homes, and commercial applications. I like the bottom 2 pictures because it shows the corners very well. So we started off with L-shaped corners, so I believe I mentioned, and it just doesn't work out because the wall really has to be perfect on both sides, because you have a tongue going in on both sides of a wall, and if it's not perfect, or if the bottom panel was screwed in too tight or too loose, it doesn't fit right. So it got to be a real problem. So we did away with the L-shaped corners, and we have finished ends. And it really does provide a good look and a finished look to the product. Some more commercial sites. I can speak to Tim Hortons and Zehrs. Tim Hortons brought in Versetta Stone. If you live anywhere in the Tim Horton world, you've probably seen a few dozen of these with our stone on it to give it that cafe look. So they loved the look and the colors and everything else because it looked like stone. The installed price was reasonable for them. And the most important factor, it went up fast. So in new construction, fast is important, but in renovations, it is huge, especially when you're like at Tim Hortons and you're shutting down the store to do a renovation. Every day you're closed, you're losing money. So speed is of the essence. So they saw the attraction of, you know what, the installers can come in, do the outside, come in and do the fireplace, and then just get out of the way and let the next crew come in. It was that speed factor that really attracted them to the product. For Zehrs grocery stores, which are found mostly in Ontario, they were using a cheap manufactured stone veneer, not a quality manufactured stone. The back of it was very chalky. It didn't stick to the walls and started falling off the walls, which is not really conducive to business when you have customers trying to dodge your stones to get into the building. So we introduced Versetta Stone to the architect. They immediately saw the appeal, that they didn't have to worry about getting a bad product or a bad installer, because this is mechanically fastened, it's there to stay. This was a renovation project where all the siding was removed and replaced with Rosetta Stone, gave it a whole new look. Custom homes, track build homes, large projects like hotels, condominiums, multifamily residences, right down to the little remodeling jobs with Versetta, or large interior applications with Versetta Stone. Boral Building Products manufactures both the culture stone and the Versetta Stone. They're manufactured right inside the same buildings, same know-how, same skills, same 50-year warranty, the same exact high standards of manufacturing. So when it comes to stone, Boral Building Products, they definitely know stone.